Welcome back to the channel, you bunch of stinky weebs. It's always great to have you back. While you're here, hit that like, subscribe. Please subscribe. Come on. I only got one subscriber, and that's me, because I have to have a separate account to make sure all my videos go up properly. Be my first sub. Come on. Today, we're going to be talking about Pokemon. Really, it's Pokemon in general, but it's also concerning the 3DS and Wii U shop close down that's going to be happening later on this month, March 27th. We're about 11 days away. So this is one of those things where I just can't agree with what Nintendo's doing, and really Game Freak. Game Freak is the one in charge of Pokemon. They released the games for it, and I have no idea what they're doing. Same thing with Nintendo. Nintendo is, for whatever reason, making sure that it's extremely difficult for anybody to buy certain games, and this includes the world popular Pokemon. Now, I'm a big Pokemon fan, maybe you're not, however, Pokemon is a perfect example of this. Now, let's put Pokemon into context. Pokemon is a giant franchise. I'm sure you guys know, even if you don't play Pokemon, you're familiar with Pikachu, right? Because he's just one of those mascots. And believe it or not, Pokemon is a gigantic franchise. As a matter of fact, it is the biggest franchise. By Title Max, Carly Hallman did a wonderful job producing this graph. This is 2018 numbers, of course, but this puts everything into context. Pokemon is the world's largest franchise, valued at around $92 billion. Alright, $92,000 million, as they say it in Spanish. And this graph does a good job of explaining how it's broken down. Pokemon as a franchise makes most of its money in merchandise. I'm a bit colorblind, so I had to kind of squint at this chart. Most of its money comes from merchandise. A section of it comes from video games, and then the rest comes from a hodgepodge of different things, right? Like the Pokemon show, Pokemon movies, actual Pokemon plays, I'm sure there's manga and comics released about Pokemon, and all those things make up the rest. I say make up the rest, but it looks like it's around several billion dollars. Main chunk looks like around $60 billion is worth of franchise, and it looks like right around $18 billion is with the video games. It's a lot of freaking money, right? It is the biggest franchise as far as I know. Followed behind Hello Kitty, Winnie the Pooh, Mickey Mouse, and Star Wars of all things, right? So Pokemon is very popular. It's very in demand. It has franchising power, especially here in the States and in Japan, but I'm sure it's a global thing. Now, you would imagine that Nintendo and Game Freak would make sure that these games, as big as this franchise is, would be available for everybody to purchase whenever they want. And since the Switch got released, you would imagine, oh well, all of the Pokemon games should be on Switch, right? Because Switch is a mobile game, mobile platform. You're able to download, maybe in a perfect world, all of the old school Pokemon games and bring them with you wherever you go, right? You can it'd be cool to bring Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald with you wherever you go. It would be a really cool experience. However, Nintendo and Game Freak do not agree with that. As a matter of fact, with this closure on March 27th of the Wii U and 3DS stores, they're actually going to prevent absolute access of those games later on, electronically at least. As you can see here, Phil Salvador did a wonderful job kind of showing off the data here, talking about all the games that will become unavailable or removed soon from the game stores. As you can see here, Pokemon Red, Leaf Green, Emerald, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Black and White 2. Looks like everything before Ultra Sun and Moon is going to be removed from stores, digital stores at least. So you're going to have to buy a physical copy. Now, that's fine, right? Physical copies are great. You can show off physical copies as like a collection. However, you go over to eBay and Craigslist, and you're looking at a game, a Pokemon game, going over several $100s. Such as here, this is a phony zip code I put in, by the way. I do live in California, but this is not my zip code. I just made this up and put it in. So, for example, you're looking for an authentic cartridge of Pokemon Yellow, one of the classic games. You're looking at right around, at the least, $50, right? This one is, you can buy this one now for $50, and they're saying it's an authentic copy. But you're looking at around $50. Yeah. So you can get it cheaper if you want to fix it yourself. But you're looking at an old school Pokemon Yellow cartridge going for $50. You extrapolate this to every other, Game Boy Pokemon game, classic Pokemon game released, and you're looking at a massive investment to even try to get into these games, right? Of course, all of these things look like they are not coming in like box, so you're really not gonna get anything to show off except for the game itself. That sucks. So I think Nintendo is doing a wonderful job at doing one thing and one thing only, and that is hyping up emulation, right? Of course, it's always nice to have a physical copy on hand, but as this Kotaku article goes on, it's getting harder and harder to get into Pokemon, or at least the old school stuff, and not without having to go into emulators. It sucks. Obviously, Nintendo is the biggest, is the company that probably cares the least about its franchises and doesn't care whether or not there are properly people are able to access them. They do, however, really do care the moment you try to emulate them. Even though a game can be off store shelves completely, and you have to buy the game through the secondhand market, which Nintendo obviously can't take a single dime from. The moment you try to emulate a game, that crosses the line for some reason. Even though the company has no offering of the video game at all, the moment you try to emulate it, it becomes a red line. And Nintendo has been known to go after emulator websites, especially the ones that try to monetize their ROMs, and they've taken those websites down with extreme prejudice. It's kind of stupid, really. I'm not sure what Nintendo's doing, but having more than 41% of a franchise, the biggest franchise on the planet, inaccessible because Nintendo doesn't want to port their games over to their Switch or their newest platforms, is a travesty. I do not know what Nintendo is doing. I mean, I'm certain that if games were available on the Nintendo Switch or available on their other platforms, people would buy those games, right? They wouldn't have to resort to emulators. However, because the damn physical media is so damn expensive, if you can find the physical media that still works, it sucks, right? So it's, the Wii U and 3DS marketplace shutting down March 27th really is going to be it's not going to be as big deal, right? Obviously, the prices of physical media like these old school Pokemon games are going to go up because you can't access them digitally anymore. A lot of these old school games, 3DS games, are going to go up in price if they had a physical release, causing collectors to have, to increase prices to exorbitant degrees. It's going to be harder to get into these older games. And because it gets harder to get into, harder to access some of these games, people are going to go to the next best thing, and that is going to emulate. And Nintendo is going to hate it, but it's that's the type of bed they're making, and they're gonna have to sleep on it. All right, so this has been Weebish. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe while you're here. Catch you guys in the next one.